Texas once shimmered like pure gold. Many believe the Lone Star State could polish the American dream brighter than anywhere else. Yet behind those glittering office towers and mile-long boulevards hides a night that never sleeps. Under concrete bridges stretch silent tent cities, and under every overpass lingers a story no postcard dares to print. A ruthless tragedy grows in the spaces no spotlight reaches. In this documentary, we rip away the curtain, exposing the haunting truth of a crisis few want to see. Costs soar, compassion thins, and whole lives sink where the promise of Texas once stood tall. Do you remember the 70s? Back then, Texas felt boundless. Warm air, cheap land, and jobs that seemed to last forever. Families sold small homes in Ohio or Illinois, packed a single station wagon, and rolled south with pocket change and hope. They bought tidy houses, found decent work, and dreamed big for their kids. That was the American dream, and Texas proudly lit the path. But dreams rarely shatter in a single blow. Instead, they crumble grain by grain, like roof tiles lifted away by one unseen gust after another. By the time anyone looks up, the ceiling is gone and the storm is pouring in. No siren blared, no headline screamed. It just happened. Look at the numbers and feel the chill. More than 27,377 Texans now live without a home, nearly double the total of 5 short years ago. In places like Los Angeles, that figure might look smaller, but here every single digit is a breathing soul who still hopes to see dawn. Behind that statistic march thousands more who scrape by on couches and back seats, or in cramped rooms that barely let air inside. One medical bill, one layoff, one bitter breakup, and the line separating rent paid from sleeping rough fades away like sidewalk chalk in the rain. When that line vanishes, everything else can topple like dominoes. The American dream doesn't explode. It leaks away until even a name is forgotten. Someone who once held keys and pay stubs becomes a shadow people avoid at traffic lights. How many more must sleep on the curb? How many more bright plans must rot in darkness before the warning feels real? Texas treats its unhoused differently, too. In some states, rows of tents sit in plain view. But here, constant sweeps push people to the far edges of town. Many end up wedged in drainage ditches, wedged under freeway ramps, or now, perched in trees. Along dusty Highway 183 in northeast Austin, a man has pieced together a treetop hut with scrap boards, frayed rope, and mesh snag from a work site. No address, no lock, just a narrow space to breathe. He whispers through the leaves. By being homeless, I'm treated like I'm not human, like I don't deserve anything. You know it's bad. Yesterday, he held a steady job and a paycheck others envied. One misplaced trust yanked the floor away. Job gone. Apartment gone. Sense of worth gone. Now he lives above roaring traffic, unseen yet painfully visible, judged for simply existing. That story is no longer rare. It is an urgent wave, sweeping entire households off familiar streets. In Austin alone, nearly half, 48.7%, of unhoused residents sleep fully outdoors with zero formal shelter. Travel west to Fort Worth or south to San Antonio at night, and you will find shelters crammed beyond capacity. Dozens must wander until they locate a quiet doorway, praying police will let them rest until sunrise. Picture this wild contrast. A city boasts drone food delivery and free Wi-Fi in every park, while a mother dinner from a rusted bean can balanced on a tree branch. These are not strangers who drifted in to scavenge. They lived here. They worked here. The system quietly spat them out, and no one even noted their names. Here is the scariest thought of all. Tomorrow's treetop survivor could be you, or someone you love. A downer knows no favorites. Rent due. Car breaks down. Illness hits. Suddenly, that sturdy ladder of success feels more like brittle straw. But what pushed Texas to this brink? Rising housing costs came first, sneaking higher year after year until modest paychecks could not keep pace. Next arrived surging medical fees that swallow savings overnight. Finally, A cold social indifference wrapped everything in silence. Many still cling to the myth that anyone can make it if they try, even while evidence screams the opposite in every underpass. Some lawmakers promise quick fixes, but the streets tell another story. Shelters beg for funds, outreach crews stretch thin, and mental health services waitlist coil like rattlesnakes. Each delay means another lost paycheck, another evicted family, another tent hammered into dry soil that once promised forever. Yet hope is not flatlined. Grassroots groups pass out hydration packs when the sun scorches the pavement like a skillet. Faith centers convert basements into pop-up dorms when winter blasts race across the plains. Brave volunteers walk alleyways at night, handing out blankets stitched with care by retirees who still believe community can win. These sparks matter, but they will never replace structural change. Affordable homes must rise where luxury lofts now tower empty. Healthcare must stop demanding entire paychecks for a single prescription, and compassion must quit hiding behind locks and gates, because human worth is not measured by a mailing address. Listen closely the next time you drive the interstate at twilight. Tires rumble overhead, but under the columns you may hear a guitar strum, a quiet laugh, or a whispered prayer. These sounds prove the dream is wounded, not dead. With the right will, it can breathe again. We can still choose a better path. The shining Texas many remember was built by neighbors standing shoulder to shoulder. That unity can return, if we admit this crisis is our responsibility to solve. Every single empty lot reclaimed, every clinic opened, every apprenticeship offered is a hinge that swings the door back toward hope. So stay with us until the final frame. Look beyond the skyline, listen past the tourist chatter, and face the truth hiding in plain sight. Because the moment a society forgets its own people, the promise it loves to sell flickers out like a bulb gone cold. Where can the American dream hide when even the mainland says, no vacancy? Houston's boulevards shine like chrome at noon, and Dallas gleams like a city carved from glass. Yet only a few blocks away, past an alley lined with broken windows, another America waits in silence, an America nobody shows in travel ads. Texas no longer has a homeless district. People without roofs are swept away, scattered like chalk dust every time the city wants a cleaner postcard. Drive 10 minutes south on I-45, and you'll find a shadow city the map refuses to label. Tents perch on jagged pavement like weeds after hard rain. Ripped, rain-soaked, jammed between shopping carts and shattered bins. No lamps, no toilets, no street signs. Just the exhausted eyes of more than 280 men and women baking under a merciless 40-degree sun. Some call these corridors the basement world of Texas. Inside, the forgotten lock themselves away to stay alive, while outside, traffic roars past as if nothing is wrong. Houston isn't the lone red zone. Fort Worth bulldozed a camp near the Trinity River, yet tents sprouted again within weeks. Not because residents enjoy canvas life, but because every push leaves them with nowhere else to stand. We do not get to choose where to live, we only choose places where we are least likely to be chased away. A middle-aged man mutters while turning a soda can into a tiny cook stove. Cleanup drives roll in with brutal rhythm. Bulldozers crush shelters. Loudspeakers bark orders, and blue lights flash. But after the dust settles, nobody offers keys, vouchers, or even a bus fare. Only one message remains. Move on. These tarp settlements are more than temporary camps. They are proof that a wealthy state can create human rights-free zones where existence itself feels illegal. As dusk falls, streets once buzzing with shoppers dissolve into wary shadows. Local families steer clear, kids receive stern warnings, and patrol cars circle not to protect, but to scatter. Inside worn nylon walls, residents clutch thin bags as though stitched to their skin. That silent graveyard keeps spreading. City cores, outlying farms, abandoned factory parks, all sprout tents like stubborn grass. The terror isn't that they appear. The terror is how quickly the sight becomes normal. How long until progress stops being an excuse, and we ask, Is this truly the America we promised ourselves? Once upon a time, living in Texas meant you'd made it. Wide-open subdivisions sold houses cheap enough that dishwashers, gardeners, and taxi drivers could buy a front porch after a few years of grit. For millions over 55, the Lone Star State symbolized a gentle landing after decades of shift work. Now, even a tree canopy might be the final refuge for someone who spent 4 decades paying payroll taxes. Unlike states that still tolerate visible tent rows, Texas insists invisibility. Keep the streets spotless. So cleanup brigades rip down tarps, shelters tighten entry rules, and the unhoused retreat to drainage gullies nobody bothers to inspect. Reports reveal nearly 49% of Austin's homeless community sleep outdoors with no official bed. San Antonio, Fort Worth, and Houston echo the same refrain. Centers jammed, mats gone. Thousands stalk nighttime streets like wandering shadows. Look only at graphs, and we miss raw humanity. These men and women rode buses, paid rent, and bought birthday cakes like anyone else. Development's steep toll leaves no wiggle room for those knocked off the treadmill. Neighborhood residents dislike tents on curbside lawns. Tourism boards hate headlines about sidewalk poverty. Real estate brokers warn that rough sleepers drop property values. Police enforce code, tear down lean-tos, and privately admit the task wounds their pride. Growth often counts profit in spreadsheets, yet never tallies the people it abandons. How can a nation boasting a top-tier GDP allow citizens who nailed its drywall, paved its highways, and policed its parades to huddle under road signs at night? A harsh truth creeps through every depot, rest stop, and picnic bench. Older Texans are becoming America's first forgotten homeless generation. They once built skyscrapers under blistering sun, taught reading in tiny schools, or fought wars overseas. They paid payroll deductions, raised children, and kept cities humming. Now, when their backs ache and budgets shrink, society pivots away. Rent swings the first axe. In only 5 years, average monthly costs in Houston and Austin soared from around $800 to well above $1,400, while pensions stood frozen. Social programs trimmed stipends and left Medicare unable to cover a mailbox, let alone an apartment. One severe illness plus one rental hike equals eviction. No cushion, no appeal. Many elders imagined grown children would provide a safety net, but cramped condos, ballooning bills, and tense family ties fray that dream. Government aid? Waiting lists snake on for years, and elderly-friendly units appear slower than a desert breeze. Shelters rarely suit gray hair. Steep stairs, hard bunks, limited medical staff, no privacy. So grandmothers park battered sedans under bridges, and grandfathers choose barstool benches beneath stadium awnings. Ask patrol officers, and some whisper that seeing a 70-year-old asleep on a picnic table stings more than clearing a tent city. Yet they shrug. There is nowhere safe to escort her. No budget line labeled dignity. No law compelling the cure. Week after week, another senior's name lands on the fresh homeless roster. Not for lack of trying, but for living long enough to be sidelined. But what happens next could be even more alarming. With each rent leap and benefit cut, middle-aged renters inch closer to the same cliff. If we turn away now, the tide rolling over today's elders will swallow tomorrow's workforce too. The American dream is not a souvenir we hang on a wall. It is a living promise. Work hard, follow rules, and your country will shield you from the worst storms. When tree canopies replace houses and cardboard replaces walls, that promise cracks like glass in summer heat. Solutions require more than flashbulb press events. Cities need true affordable units. Places an entry-level nurse, a retired roofer, or a grocery cashier can pay for without surrendering every cent. Healthcare must stop devouring life savings. And cleanup crews must shift from bulldozers to outreach vans stocked with blankets, counselors, and real relocation plans. Meanwhile, communities can act fast. Faith centers opening climate-controlled wings for seniors. landlords offering sliding scale studios instead of short-term luxury rentals, colleges transforming empty dorms during summer into elder havens, small steps that, quilted together, keep roofs above fragile shoulders. The future of the American dream depends on whose voices we choose to hear. If the mainland shuts its gates against its own people, where will hope finally rest? That question hangs above every alley, every freeway ramp, every blinking billboard bragging about prosperity. And until we answer, the Tree Canopy Hotel will keep checking in new guests, maybe sooner, maybe closer than any of us dare to imagine. This isn't just a homelessness crisis. It's a moral collapse. We now live in a society where the people who gave their lives to serve, build, and protect our communities don't even have a safe place to sleep when they grow old. And it's not because they failed. It's because no one remembers they even exist. If those who built the very foundation of America are no longer welcome in the system they helped create, then who is truly safe? Who among us can confidently say they'll be spared when the bottom falls out? Now imagine growing up with no bed, no classroom, no clean clothes or warm dinner, no future to reach for. That's not a scene from a novel. It's the real-life experience of thousands of children across Texas right now. They didn't do anything wrong. They weren't born into crime or laziness. They were born into poverty. And in Texas, that alone is enough to crush a child's future before it even starts. According to recent data from the Texas Homeless Education Office, over 114,000 students were identified as homeless last school year. That's a record number, and it doesn't even include the invisible ones. So many kids don't have paperwork, don't show up in any system, and in some cases, aren't even officially counted as existing. These kids aren't criminals. They don't need to break rules to be punished. All they had to do was be born into a home that couldn't keep up with rising rent. In Austin, hidden camps now line wooded areas where desperate parents pitch tents in silence. They try to wash their children in cold water. They help them study under flashlights. They whisper bedtime stories through thin nylon walls, praying no one finds them. Because if they're discovered, the risk is real. They could be arrested for neglect or forced into dangerous, overcrowded shelters where kids sleep next to strangers, some battling addiction, some battling rage, with no privacy, no security, and no safety. The public often shrugs it off. That's their parents' problem, they say. But the truth is, it's the system that abandoned them all. Texas housing prices have skyrocketed by over 40% in just 5 years, while the minimum wage has barely budged. Even with both parents working full-time jobs, many families still can't afford a basic 2-bedroom apartment in cities like Austin or Houston. These families didn't fall apart because of laziness. They were pushed out, slowly, painfully, by a system that forgot how to protect working-class people. Behind fast food restaurants and next to dumpsters, you'll see kids waiting in line for a peanut butter sandwich from a local charity van. Some business owners feel sorry. Others chase them away to protect their image. They don't want a child standing in their parking lot to scare off customers. Yes, even childhood itself is now treated as a threat. Teachers, police officers, social workers, the very people who should be able to help, are drowning too. They face long waiting lists, shrinking budgets, and a tidal wave of new cases. Intervention programs get slashed, and children slip away from school unnoticed. Each child lost is another future cut off before it can begin. America once took pride in being the land of opportunity. But what opportunity are we offering kids who've never had a stable bed, who've never known safety, who've never even seen what hope looks like? In a healthy society, when someone falls, someone else catches them. But in Texas today, there's no one at the bottom, just empty space. You fall out of job, fall behind on rent, fall through the cracks. And what's waiting? Nothing.